Did you know that in face-to-face interviews at the 85 largest airlines in the world, for 3 of the interview questions, they require the STAR methodology? In this video, I'm going to tell you the 5 most common questions that recruiters ask for cabin crew positions, and I'll give you all the tips on how to answer them. Hello, how are you? I am Romulo Gutierrez, and this is the Flight Deck Briefing Channel. I've been a recruiter and headhunter for 28 years with extensive experience with airlines all over the world. Currently, I provide training for recruiters from 45 airlines around the world so they can find the best talent. And in this video, I'm going to tell you 5 questions that require the STAR methodology, along with tips on how to answer. So what's the first question? Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult and angry customer. So one of the characteristics of a STAR question is when they put you in a situation. That's the first detail. Whenever a question starts with, tell me about a situation, give me an example, or describe a time, these are questions where you have to provide an example. It's no use talking about theories or behaviors. Give an example. When they ask me, tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult and angry customer, the tip is, I'll give a STAR example, but here's the tip. Always focus on de-escalating the conflict. That's one of the great skills of a cabin crew member. Second point, try to identify the customer's problems and solve those problems. So if this question comes to me, for example, I'm in an interview with Delta Airlines and they ask me that, tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult and angry customer. I could say, there was a time when I was working as a nurse, this is a fictional example, where a patient's companion was very upset because they had been slow to give his father his medication. Situation. My task at that moment was to listen to him without questioning anything. And I said, I understand, Mr. Armando, what's going on? I'm counting on your understanding to resolve this situation. From there, I took action. The action, I went to the nursing station and found that, in fact, the medication was late. During the shift change from one team to another, the medication hadn't been administered. I went to the room of Mr. Armando, gave the medication, and told him that everything was fine now. And I apologized right there for the slight delay that occurred. In fact, later on, he even complimented my work on the hospital's website. I'm not a nurse, I'm just giving an example so that you understand. So notice that I bring an example that has a situation, a task I did, an action I took, and a result that was achieved. Always like that. Second STAR question that will come up in your interview. Pay attention. Describe a situation where you had to deal with something that involved risk to other people. A situation that involved risk to other people. It's a question that North American, Middle Eastern, Asian, and Oceanian airlines love to ask. Answering tips. Focus on following safety protocols. The role of a flight attendant is not a creative role. It's a hospitality role and a role where you follow safety protocols. Remember that. This is important. Maintain calm and technical precision, even when under pressure. So here I'll give a fictional example for you to understand the STAR methodology. So they asked me, now I'm in the interview, later right here in the comments, the airline you're applying for, so I can give an example. I'm in the Ryanair interview, and then this question comes up. I can say, there was a situation when I worked at a convenience store at a gas station in Brazil where suddenly 2 robbers came in to rob the register. Then I go to the second part. The customers panicked. At that moment, my task was to stay calm, look at the robbers, and tell them, everything is under control. I'll give you everything here. No problem at all. They were still nervous. The customers were nervous, ducking down. I took action, took all the money in the register, handed it to the bandits, and said, You can relax. I won't call security. I won't call the police. I just need the people here to be completely safe. The result was that they immediately took the money, left the store, and the customers there started to themselves seek help, look for the police, but only after the robbers were a bit further away. So I tried to stay calm, apply what I learned in training, including at that company I worked for, and perform my role there, even in the face of a difficult situation. Of course, this example didn't happen to me, but I'm applying the STAR method to the second question. There are more questions. Before I continue, there are some mistakes I can't discuss with you in this video, but they can eliminate you from any interview or any stage of the airline selection processes. These errors are in my ebook, The 50 Biggest Mistakes That Fail Cabin Crew Members All Over the World. The ebook is in the first pinned comment and in the video description. You click, open the ebook there, and you'll be able to get it and not fail your interview. Let's move on to the third question in this STAR methodology, which should come up in your interview. Remember, 85 major airlines in the world ask at least 3 of these 5 I'm talking about. Tell me about a time you went above and beyond for a customer. A time when you were able to deliver something extra for the customer. Here, what do they want to check? If you're able to be courteous to the customer, even if you work for a company that has, how can I say, cheaper ticket prices like EasyJet, it's not an excellent service. They want you to go above and beyond for the passengers. And if it's a company like Qatar, like Etihad, like American Airlines, it's the same thing, you see? So I could give an example here, me as a sommelier recommending wines. It's just a fictional example, then you think of your own examples, okay? In fact, I'm going to make you an invitation. Leave an example of a situation where you served a customer and you went way above and beyond. Tell me about it so I can bring it up in other videos. You help me. And leave your likes as well. So a time you went above and beyond, I could say, there was a time when I worked at a hypermarket chain in Rio de Janeiro, where I live, called Pão de Açúcar, and a customer came to me asking for an idea of which wine to buy for his engagement at a very low price of only $10. I took on the following task. I showed him all the Brazilian wines, and I also showed him a Chilean wine list where we had wines there in the $12, $15, up to $20 range, a little above what he was looking to pay. He was hesitant about the price, but I took action. There were some samples for tasting. He tasted some wines and he bought an $18 wine, a Chilean one called Casillero del Diablo. And he took that wine. He was very satisfied. And the result of that was that he became one of the best low-priced wine customers in that supermarket called Pão de Açúcar in Rio de Janeiro. And he referred me to several other customers who bought quite expensive wines. And that even helped with my sales commissions. So notice that I brought examples that are fictional, but you must have your own examples. An example of when you had to deal with a difficult and angry customer. An example where you had to, a situation where you worked that involved risk to other people. How are you able to improve that? An example where you went above and beyond for a customer. Now, I have 2 more questions that will come up in this STAR method, and I'm going to give you an example. Before I continue, if you want mentoring here from Flydeck Briefing live, online and individual, you can have this mentoring for as many sessions as you wish. It can be for any stage of the selection process. Virtual stages, group dynamic stages, video interview stages, face-to-face interview stages. It doesn't matter. You can reach out in the video description and in the first pinned comment. My WhatsApp is there. You can call directly. You'll speak directly with me, okay? Or you can reach out through the website, which is also pinned. You click on the site. The site is www.flydeckbriefing.com. There you click, you'll choose the number of sessions you want, you fill in what you want to work on. In the mentoring, choose the number of sessions, pay through the Hotmart platform, which is accepted in over 100 countries, super secure, and also with clear refund policies. And there, you'll receive the Google Meet link ready for the video calls, according to the number of sessions you purchased, okay? It will be a pleasure to meet you. And here at Flydeck Briefing, videos are on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. The selection processes for global aviation are right here. I need your like and your subscription to help this project take off more and more. The fourth question that should come up in your interview in this STAR methodology that airlines worldwide are using. Give me an example of when you had a conflict with a coworker. So the skills the recruiter wants to check are communication skills, the ability to propose solutions, and impartiality. Impartiality, okay? In other words, being able to be professional all the time. And so I'll give an example. Let's suppose I worked here in Brazil with LATAM Airlines, and I was a baggage handler. So I could say, look, at a certain point, there was a conflict with a LATAM flight attendant, a coworker of mine who was looking for a bag, which was a carry-on, but it was checked by the customer's choice, according to what the customer had said, but they didn't have the check-in receipt. And this flight attendant was very nervous, saying that I had to take responsibility for that luggage. My task at first was to check the system, request a check of all the x-rays, and really certify that that luggage hadn't been checked in. He still insisted. The colleague was quite hostile with me. I tried not to escalate the conflict. The aircraft was on the ground. I asked for permission to go to the aircraft to check the luggage compartments. And in fact, the luggage hadn't been checked in. It was way in the back, there in the compartment, at the last seat of the aircraft. I got the luggage, gave it to the passenger, and the result was that this colleague, the flight attendant, apologized to me, but I didn't take it personally. We continued working well and together, and there was no problem with that. So notice that I'm bringing another example with situation, task, action, and result in a conflict resolution. And the fifth question, which should come up, describe a time when you adapted to a rapid change. Describe a time when you adapted to a rapid change. It's also a STAR response, but the answer to this question and a few more that are very common in airline interviews, I'll leave everything in this video here. Go watch it. It'll help you a lot. Excellent preparation. Best wishes and see you later. Bye.